Now it's time for U.S. Report regular former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, Twitter is, by the way, thank you so much for coming on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Twitter is back to being the biggest game in town, despite reports of its imminent demise. What do you think this means for Trump's social media platform, Truth?
James, thanks very much, and happy Thanksgiving. It's a really interesting question for Donald Trump. You saw that Elon Musk reached out to Trump this week and invited the former president back onto Twitter. This puts the former president in a real bind. Why? Because he loves that big audience that would be available to him on Twitter, a couple 100 million followers. But he also owns Truth Social. And if he goes back on Twitter, it probably kills Truth Social. So he's torn between two things he really loves, which is a huge audience and great ratings, and money. So I don't know how it's going to end up. Don't be surprised if someone from Truth Social reaches out to Elon Musk and says, why doesn't Twitter just buy the president's Truth Social so that we can all be one big happy family?
And, you know, Mick, Elon Musk has been putting out some memes, some of which we can't show on a family show, sort of teasing Donald Trump and sort of goading him into posting. Do you think he will hold firm and not wind up posting, even though, you know, his thumbs must be absolutely itching to fire off a couple of tweets there?
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's other ways for Donald Trump to make money. There's not that many other ways, including Truth Social, to speak to a couple 100 million people in a couple of characters. So my guess is, as between Truth Social and Twitter, Donald Trump eventually ends up back on Twitter during this next presidential campaign.
Now, a big birthday this week for the president. He turned 80. And, of course, the New York Times didn't waste a moment writing a puff piece claiming they spoke to 10 experts, saying that he's got a lot going in his favor at his age. I mean, seriously, are they deaf and blind?
Yes. In fact, they're intentionally. They choose to be deaf and blind. Go back to what happened. I think to President Trump a couple years back. He was walking down a ramp in a rainstorm at a university and slipped for just a second. The New York Times ran stories for days thereafter about whether or not the President Trump then was capable mentally, whether or not that was a sign of physical incapability or mental shortcomings. They were absolutely ruthless on him, but they're looking now for excuses to cover for Joe Biden. That's not to be unexpected at all. The New York Times is an organization now that is part of the Democrat Party, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. They're defending Joe Biden at any cost.
Speaking of the media, I was really amused this week when CBS came out and said, 2 years after the fact, hey, that Hunter Biden laptop, just turns out to be, accurate and authentic 2 years after, of course, everybody was saying, no, that's a Russian intelligence operation. What do you make of the fact that people are now, continuing to say, yeah, Hunter, there could be some problems there?
What it means means that there's really something there, more than just a little bit. If there was just a little bit of truth there, folks like CBS, the Washington Post, would be ignoring it and essentially, ignoring the fact that they covered it up 2 years ago. But the fact that they now have to come out and sort of tacitly admit that they covered up something a couple years ago means there's probably something more there than even we hear about right now. Because, look, CBS, and I work for CBS here in the United States, they have no interest at all in attacking Joe Biden or Hunter Biden. They have no interest in helping Donald Trump. So if you're hearing anything come out of those organizations that is mildly anti-Biden, it means there's probably something under the tip of that iceberg.